We're here in beautiful Amsterdam Central Station in the wee morning hours, and soon the Klimaattrein will depart from here up to Glasgow to reach COP26. So the train will be filled with workshops and sessions. Our main goal is to bring as many people as possible, and especially as many young people as possible, to COP26, where their future is decided.
Here we are in the coach for climate finance or transformative investments. For the sustainable transition to happen, you need transformative investment. So you need to start investing now in the things that you want to see in 20 years.
The session of the coach that I'm in right now is all about really start doing and start prototyping some ideas. So it's a great way to continue on your ideation process. For example, how you can enhance mobile working in the train, how you can stimulate people to take the train instead of a flight, and subjects like that.
We're here hosting this carriage, so finding out ideas of how we can really transform the railways, how it can be this fantastically transformed place. So we're working about how might we get there, what kind of changes do we need to make, because it's something that's got to happen in this next 10 years.
Rail travel is a solution. It's not a problem. There were a lot of people who are believing. Then you can really have the same conversation, not think in interest of my company or organization, but in the goals we have for sustainability.
I work for Eurostar and I'm responsible for the service on board, and we show how everything is sustainable, local, and always in season.
I'm giving a workshop in this garage on active hope. We're expressing our gratefulness to be alive. We're honoring our pain for the world, for the climate crisis. We're talking about new visions, and then we're going forward. All of us are going to the COP26 in Glasgow because we're sad for all the lives lost, for the biodiversity lost, for the people's lives lost. And we're here creating a space to express those feelings.
If we're going to deliver the European Green Deal, a climate neutral continent by 2050, everyone's going to have to do more. You can see here we've got a whole stack of ideas that people have generated just in the 1 hour we've been on this train. The young people in the cities, the mayors in the cities, they want to see change.
Rail is a very sustainable alternative to aviation that's available now. I'm really proud of the fact that everyone on this train today going from Amsterdam to London is using 7 or 8 times less carbon than if they got on the plane. We need to keep pushing on this.
I'm very optimistic we can have this big movement towards climate neutrality, and I hope also we'll see that discussion reflected globally in Glasgow.